Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist. I own 52 units of real estate and I help coach people to buy the first multifamily deal. So today I want to talk about motivation and loss of motivation. So, on your real estate journey, your entrepreneur journey, your wealth building journey, there's a lot of ups and downs. Like, when I was buying a bunch of real estate during COVID in 2021, when I bought my 26 unit apartment complex, I bought my mobile home park, I bought my 20 unit apartment complex, and I still own my two apartments today, but not my mobile home park. And, I've scaled from, negative 250K net worth all the way up to $6 million plus. And for me, I was very, very motivated, I would say, from 23 all the way up until I would say like 33. So for a good 10-year run, I was like super, super motivated to build wealth, to better myself, to strive to improve myself, to always do better, whether that's in my career. And, I climbed up my pharmacy career, became, at one point regional director of pharmacy, currently work at a large hospital. So, kind of seen it and kind of felt like I hit my peak a little bit, which is a little bit discouraging. And in terms of real estate, like I never thought I would own, 1.90 units of real estate. Today it's 52 units of real estate. Never thought I would achieve, $6 million plus net worth. And, if I were to liquidate everything, I could essentially dump it into stocks, have a paid off house, and live off that 4% rule and essentially retire with, let's just call it 200K a year, very minimal tax. So 200K a year, assuming like I have $5 million in the stocks, my paid off house, which is about $1 million. And if I use the 4% of that 5 million, it's about 200K a year, which is basically a pharmacist's salary doing absolutely nothing with a paid off house. So I could clearly live off 200K a year with a paid off house, right? That's guaranteed. So I know I kind of hit my fire goal, and I hit this at like the age of 35. And or even before 35, I would say, because my net worth has kind of been a little bit stagnant, I'd say, the past like year. But anyways, like when I listen to like, Bigger Pockets Money or like Financial Freedom podcast, like most people's fire goal is like $2 million. And I already blew through that, um, by 35 without having kids yet. And a lot of people, they're like striving towards that goal. But, they do live in cheaper cost of living areas. I live in, California, Southern California, which is obviously a more expensive market being on the coast. But, it's hard to compromise the weather. It's hard to compromise the food. It's hard to compromise, just a lot to do here. It's pros and cons living in big cities. And, I hit this like net worth goal. And the interesting thing is like I still feel like I'm like broke as heck. I still have that mentality of like I'm broke. I need to like save money, because this is a skill that kind of helped me build my wealth, right? Because I saved money, I increased my income, I was able to save a lot of money to be able to invest a lot of money into real estate. And obviously single family homes from 2017 to today, I've done very well. I bought a lot of apartments off market, under market value, was able to double the value of those apartments. So because of that, I was able to increase my net worth significantly. And then because of my W-2 job, going up over time and keeping my expenses as low as possible with house hacking, with, credit card churning and just, buying things on clearance and being very frugal and very intentional how I spent my money, I built up a lot of wealth, right? So, today I hit, in my mind, the peak of my pharmacy career. For the most part, like I can't really go any much higher than I currently am after being a pharmacist for like 12 years, which is a little bit demotivational, a little bit. I hit a net worth goal that I never thought I would achieve, and I can essentially live off the 4% rule if I want to liquidate. Um, and, I've been, creating content consistently on YouTube, just documenting my journey with you guys to show that, the grass isn't necessarily greener. And want to give a very realistic view of it because, I could, a lot of influencers, they just show off nice mansions, nice cars, they're on yachts and all this stuff. And, I could afford that. I mean, I could live in a mansion if I moved to like Texas or somewhere cheaper like Florida or Texas. I can live in a mansion for probably the same cost of this house. I could, rent a yacht for a day and take photos on there. I can get my dream car, whatever that looks like. But like once you kind of achieve it, you're just like, oh, like it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. And once you know you can like buy your dream car, it doesn't feel as good. Like I know I could buy like my Audi R8 was my dream car, or whatever car, Porsche, whatever car it is. It's like 250K at most, let's just call it. Excluding Lambos, that's not my dream car, but like 250K at most. I mean, I could buy that right now, or I could get at least and afford the monthly payment, but it just wouldn't, I know it just wouldn't make me that much happier compared to like me driving my Tesla. Like I think if I drove a nice luxury car, I'd be more stressed because car insurance is crazy in California, number one. Number two is if I were to hit a curb, I'd get super mad and be unhappy because I scratched my nice car, versus if I scratched my, hit a curve of my Tesla Model Y, it'd suck, but like I wouldn't be as angry. So, for me, if I have the itch to, drive a nice car, then either A, become friends with really rich people who own the car, or B, you just can like rent the car for the weekend on Turo, just to drive around. And, I know because I drove a BMW 3 Series 2-door coupe 328i M package, and it was a low to the ground, and my god, every time you hit a pothole, you feel it. It's like a rough suspension. Like I'm kind of over that. I kind of want a more smooth ride that I'm like riding on the cloud. So for me, I'm just like, okay, I don't like need a nice car. In terms of houses, like I used to like love the idea of owning a huge mansion, right? And I lived in a house that's 2,300 square foot, and I barely used the space in the house. Like the living room would be empty. The master bedroom, which I'm rarely in, was like didn't have much in there, and like it's just more to clean, right? I had like 4 bathrooms to clean. Versus now, I'm living in a 600 square foot house. Yeah, it can feel small at times, but like what's kind of nice about having a smaller house is that because you have a smaller house, you can't buy as much junk to store in your house. So it kind of forces you to A, not buy as much, or B, if you buy something, throw something out, right? Like, so if I buy new clothes, I'm gonna throw away old clothes that either looks like too old, it's ripped up, or it's beat up, or it's just out of style. Like, so I'm trying to do that where like, okay, hey, I bought this clothes, so I'm gonna get rid of this clothes because it's too old or it looks too like haggard looking, right? So, that's why I said I'm kind of like losing motivation a little bit because like I realized that the more wealth I built, I was like, okay, like my motivation of getting a nice car, I don't have that anymore because I know I can get it, but I also know at the same time that I wouldn't feel that much better if I did have the car. If I did want the car, I can afford it. And I know I'd only feel good for like maybe a month or two, and then it wouldn't feel as good anymore. Another thing too is like with like real estate, right? Like I know I hit the point that I can buy another piece of real estate, whether a single family home in Huntsville, Alabama, or an apartment in Oklahoma, and it wouldn't improve my quality of life. And because I know that, my buy box is so precise, and I know exactly how to make offers that make sense for me, that it's almost like no emotion involved. Like I just know, like, okay, this offer makes sense for me, and I'll just submit the offer, and 99% of the time they'll say no, but 1% of the time they'll say yes. But it's interesting that regardless if I get the no, I feel the same. If I get the yes, I probably feel happy for a day or two, then feel the same. So it's just like, in a weird way, that makes me very dangerous in terms of being a real estate investor because I'm so clear on my investing criteria, and I only want to buy a really amazing deal that makes sense for me, and hopefully it makes sense for the seller in a specific situation. But like I said, it's kind of weird. Like if I make offers, I feel indifferent. If I get a no, I feel indifferent. If I get a yes, I'll probably feel happy for a day or two and then feel indifferent. Right? Like I experienced this. Like some guy accepted my offer for my low ball price, and I think they listed for 250. I offered him like 230, and then their loan was 220. So like I would assume the loan and then put 10K down, and they accepted the offer. And then like I felt good for a day, but then the next day when I realized the rents were too low or it's a hard rental market, I just felt back to normal. So like because I'm like so stoked about it, like if I make it, I just have to like make sure I'm just making offers, right? But even then, sometimes I'm like, oh my god, I'm like so unmotivated to make that offer. So it's interesting, like at my job, like I just feel like I don't have as much that hunger, that drive, that desire to like move up in my career because like I know I kind of hit the peak, at least in pharmacy. Like, yes, I could move up like to a bigger hospital, maybe to a higher position, but I've been there, and like I already kind of know what it's gonna look like, and it's not necessarily gonna like make me learn that much more, right? Like I kind of know 80% of it, and 20% I'm learning that's new. But every job gets routine after a while, and I feel like I've kind of seen all the jobs. In terms of real estate, I know what it's like to own single family homes. I know what it's like to own multifamily homes. I know what it's like to own 50 units, and I know what it's like to get offers accepted. I know what it's like to get offers rejected, and I know what it's like to buy home run deals. I know what it's like to have a bad deal. So for me, I don't want to buy a bad deal ever again. So I'm never going to deviate. I'm not going to go into different asset classes like self storage, mobile home park again, triple net. I'm only going to buy single family homes in Huntsville, Alabama, and apartments in Oklahoma with my buy box, because I know exactly what it's like to own a single family home in Huntsville, Alabama. I know exactly what it's like to own an apartment in Oklahoma. So because I know already, I don't want any surprises for the most part. So that's what I'm going to do. But once again, it's not very exciting. It's not very motivational, right? Another thing I'm doing is like, obviously I'm dollar cost averaging my 401k. I'm dollar cost averaging whole life insurance. Once again, not very exciting. I just auto pay every single month. I set it, forget it, and then I just do that. So, so just want to share that, like, yeah, it's very unmotivational to get here, and I'm losing motivation. But it's when you hit this point, and I hope you stay this long to get the point of this story. When you hit the point where you have no motivation, when you hit the point where it's super boring, when you hit the point where you just don't feel like doing it anymore because it's so boring, like this is when you need to double down, because this is when you're the most dangerous. This is the one you'll get your home run deal. This is when you will build wealth significantly. So knowing that, I need to double down. And how I'm trying to phrase myself is, okay, how can I keep this fun and exciting for me? Right? How can I keep this fun and exciting for me to consistently make offers that make sense for me with apartments, to consistently make offers for me for single family homes, to show up every day at my job and still perform at a high level. And for me, it's trying to like gamify it, and like what makes it fun for you. So what makes it fun for me is actually talking to the realtors and trying to understand their story, right? And understand, especially if they're like investors themselves, I love talking to them, right? So that's how I'm trying to keep it interesting. Like, hey, like, what's the story on this deal? And, for me, I like to keep it interesting by, posting my experiences on YouTube to keep it fun and keep it interesting. So it's just kind of like high level athletes like Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. They basically gamified practice, because practice is very routine, is very boring. So they try to keep it fun so that they can practice a lot at a high level. So that's what I'm trying to do too. It's when it's in this boring grind, you're not very motivational. It's very boring. Even YouTube, like, it's a grind to post every day. And sometimes I lose motivation because videos don't do so well. But I know it's a grind. I know I have to be consistent. So how can I sustain this to be consistent as long as possible? That's why I talk off the cuff, because I know that I can sustain this for every day for the rest of my life. I don't want topics. I just think of something that I've been thinking about recently, and I just talk about it, right? No script, no planning, just me talking off the cuff. So key messages: when you feel like you're bored, when you feel like you lost motivation, this is your signal that you're on the right path, and you must double down on this path to be consistent, because that's when you're gonna build wealth. Like I said, if I can land an apartment complex that's 5 to 30 units, or a couple more single family homes, creative financing, my wealth will increase significantly to the point where I could comfortably just be like, hey, I could retire early if I want to, right? Or I could start accumulating these assets, own them long term, sell some, use some to pay off debt on the other properties, and now own, a 50 unit portfolio that's owned free and clear. And at that point, it's a no brainer to like retire at that point, and to do other things. So it's really the boring middle. It's very the unsexy, boring middle that builds your wealth. So in the beginning, it's super exciting. At the end, once you kind of hit all your goals and it compound like crazy, it's super exciting. But it's that boring middle. It's just like starting a marathon. The first mile is exciting. You're all pumped up. The last mile, you're excited because it's towards the end. But the middle 24 miles is boring as hell. It's boring as hell. So just keep on chugging if you're stuck in that boring middle. So anyways, if you want to buy real estate with some coaching, some mentorship, click on my link tree down below. From there, you see all my links. On my link tree, you can send me an email if you want a discount code. Otherwise, let me know questions you have. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.